There is a quiet power that belongs only to those who no longer chase noise. In a world that shouts endlessly for attention through anger, flattery, or manipulation, the man who learns to ignore wisely becomes untouchable. For to ignore is not to hate, and not to withdraw in bitterness. It is to choose where your spirit dwells. To direct your attention as a gardener directs water toward the roots that give life. The great philosopher, Dr. David McClelland, once said that 95% of a person's success or failure is determined by the people they keep near. Ralph Waldo Emerson would have nodded in calm agreement. For long before science measured it, he had seen it written in the human soul, that we rise or fall to the level of the company we keep. Guard your inner circle, he would say, for it is the reflection of your own self-respect. To live deliberately is to know this truth, that not every voice deserves your ear, and not every storm deserves your response. There are those who lift you, and those who drain you. The wise man learns the art of withdrawal, not as an act of cruelty, but as an act of preservation. His silence becomes his shield, his indifference a gate through which only peace may enter. The first shadow, the drama, seeker among the most exhausting souls we meet are those who live by turbulence. The world is never still in their hands. They carry the tempest within them. They invite you into their fires, not because they need warmth, but because they fear their own quiet. Emerson knew them well. The louder the cry, he said, the smaller the spirit. Such people thrive on your attention. They convert your sympathy into fuel for their endless performance. They summon you as their confidant, their rescuer, their hero, until you find yourself living inside their storm. Every day brings a new crisis, and every crisis demands your presence. Yet when you offer peace, they turn away. For what they crave is not resolution, but reaction. To such souls, your energy is a feast, and if you keep serving, they will never stop asking. The remedy is not confrontation, but clarity. Set your boundaries like stone. Do not answer every call that does not honor your time. Be kind, but be firm. Ask yourself before you engage, is this my problem or merely my distraction? And if they accuse you of coldness, let them. For stillness is not cold. It is sacred. There is no virtue in being endlessly available to chaos. To protect your peace is not selfishness. It is spiritual hygiene. Withdraw gently and without apology. Let your silence become the answer they cannot manipulate. In this way, you reclaim your strength, and the noise will fade on its own. The second shadow, the one who cannot be pleased. Then there are those who live perpetually disappointed, the ones you have tried 100 times to please, yet never succeeded. Their approval is a mirage that disappears the moment you approach. They take and take again, but gratitude never comes. To them, your kindness is currency, your effort their entitlement. Emerson would remind you, it is one of the blessings of old friends that you can afford to be stupid with them. But beware of those who make you feel forever small. The endless pleaser forgets himself in the mirror of another's dissatisfaction. He trades his authenticity for acceptance, and in doing so becomes invisible even to himself. You must not live that way. You were not born to serve another's shifting moods. To try to satisfy an unpleasable person is to pour water into a bottomless pit. It is to starve your own soul for the illusion of peace. The remedy, again, is inward. You must ask, why do I bend so quickly? What am I afraid to lose? Fear of rejection is the invisible leash that keeps many in bondage. But no love worth keeping demands that you disappear. True companionship does not thrive on obedience, but on respect. Say no without shame. Speak your mind without apology. Let your words carry the quiet authority of self-respect. The pleaser believes that peace comes from submission. Emerson knew better. Peace comes only from integrity. The moment you begin to honor your own truth, the right people remain, and the wrong ones drift away. This is not loss. It is alignment. The third shadow. The naysayer, every soul that dares to dream, will meet opposition. The naysayer appears at the threshold of every vision, the one who tells you that your wings are too small, that your ambitions are absurd, that your light is too bright. It cannot be done, they whisper. It has never been done. Emerson faced them all his life, yet his answer was steady. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. The naysayer's voice is the echo of their own failure, not a prophecy of yours. Their disbelief is confession, not insight. When you listen to them, you let their fear write the limits of your own destiny. To ignore them is not arrogance, it is wisdom. For if you tried to please every skeptic, your life would become a long apology for your own existence. The secret is to redirect their energy. Hear them, but do not believe them. Let their doubt sharpen your clarity, as a whetstone sharpens a blade. If their criticism contains truth, learn from it. But if it is merely noise, let it pass like wind through an open field. Do not argue, do not justify. Do not explain your fire to those who have forgotten their own. Simply continue your work. The greatest revenge against disbelief is creation, and when the results come, when your quiet labor bears fruit, the same voices that mocked you will fall silent, confused by what they see. But you will not need their approval then, for you will have built something far stronger, faith in your own direction. The fourth shadow, the manipulator. More subtle than the critic, yet far more dangerous is the manipulator. They do not shout. They whisper. They twist words with elegance, disguise demands as affection, and make you question your own perception. The manipulator thrives not on chaos, but on control. To them, your boundaries are obstacles, not lines of respect. They pull you into favors you never agreed to, guilt you for needs they never meet, and turn your kindness into a leash around your neck. Emerson, ever a defender of sovereignty, would have called such influence the slow theft of the soul. The defense is awareness. See the pattern clearly and it loses its power. Do not blame yourself for being compassionate. Manipulation feeds on empathy, not weakness. But learn this. Empathy without discernment becomes self-destruction. When faced with manipulation, delay your answer. Time is your ally. The manipulator seeks reaction. Give them reflection. Ask yourself, does this serve my peace or only their comfort? If it serves only them, withdraw. You owe no one your energy who trades in guilt. Remember, you cannot heal a person who enjoys their own drama. You cannot save one who profits from your confusion. Distance in such cases is not cruelty. It is clarity made visible. The manipulator will call you heartless. But it is not your heart that is cold. It is your vision that has cleared. And when you step away, something powerful happens. Their control collapses, for manipulation dies in silence. What remains is your calm, your focus, your strength returning like breath after a long storm. There is a sacred pattern emerging in all these encounters. The same medicine applies to every kind of negativity, clarity, boundaries, distance, and silence. The same law echoes through Emerson's every page, that a person's first duty is to the integrity of their own soul. You were not born to be the keeper of another's chaos, nor the mirror of their weakness. You were born to live from within, to let your inner law guide your outer life. To ignore wisely is to honor the divine order of your own being, for it is not hatred that builds peace. It is focus. It is the decision to give your attention only to what uplifts, expands, and strengthens. And when you master that, the noise of lesser minds fades like wind against a mountain. You will not need to announce your boundaries. Your silence will declare them. In that silence you will find freedom, not from people, but from their power over your peace. The art of ignoring is not born of arrogance. It is born of reverence, reverence for the self, the soul, and the sacred calm that lives within us. Emerson taught that the true man must stand apart, not above, the crowd. That solitude is the furnace in which the soul is refined. When you cease reacting to every tug, when you begin to choose your silence and guard your time as something divine, the world's chaos loses its hold. Let us now turn to two more shadows, those stubborn spirits who insist that you should be someone else, and those who refuse to forgive your human mistakes. Both will test your peace. Both must be met with the same steady grace that marks a self-reliant soul. The fifth shadow, the stubborn one who insists you should be someone else. There are those who claim to love you, yet only when you play a role that pleases them. They are trapped in old stories, unable to see that you have changed. They point to your past as if it were your destiny, forgetting that growth is the nature of life itself. Such people do not mean to harm you, but they ask you to shrink, to remain a character in a story that no longer fits. Emerson once said, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." It is not rebellion to walk your own path. It is loyalty to the voice within that calls you toward becoming. Yet this loyalty demands courage, for those who knew your former self may resist your transformation. They may tell you that you have changed, and you must answer quietly, "I was meant to." Growth will always look like betrayal to those who refuse to grow beside you. But you owe no apology for your evolution. The seed does not apologize to the soil for becoming a tree. Ignore the opinions that confine you. You cannot live freely while seeking permission from those who fear freedom. They may call you distant, proud, unrecognizable, but they do not see that you have merely returned home to yourself. When you ignore their demands to become who you were, you are not rejecting them. You are honoring life's law, that everything moves forward. Let them cling to their memory of you. It is no longer yours to carry. Real love, Emerson would remind us, is not the chain that binds. It is the wind that lets you soar. Surround yourself with those who can witness your unfolding without fear, who can celebrate the new song in your heart without trying to rewrite it. And when you find yourself walking alone for a time, do not mistake solitude for loss. Solitude is the space where the soul stretches its wings and learns again to fly. The one who walks alone is never truly alone, for he walks with his own purpose, and that is a company richer than any crowd. The sixth shadow, the unforgiving one, who refuses to release your past. There is a cruelty more quiet than insult, more corrosive than hatred. It is the refusal to forgive. Some people choose to remember you only by your mistakes. They hold your past like a weapon, using it to wound you whenever you rise. But Emerson taught that a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. The soul must shed its old skins to live. You cannot dwell forever in regret, nor can you wait for others to grant your absolution. Those who refuse to forgive are bound by their own bitterness. They mistake judgment for strength, vengeance for virtue. You cannot heal in their shadow, for they will not allow you to be new. So you must do what they will not. You must forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not knowing better when you did not. Forgive yourself for every naive yes, every misplaced trust, every moment you were still learning what strength is. The soul grows through imperfection. Its cracks let in the light of wisdom. Emerson believed that repentance was not an act of shame, but of awakening. "Finish each day and be done with it," he said. "You have done what you could." Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You cannot carry both guilt and growth in the same heart. Release the former, and the latter will bloom. The act of self-forgiveness is not indulgence, it is repair. It is how you stop bleeding energy into the past and begin to live again in the present. Ignore those who chain you to yesterday. Their judgment belongs to the story you have already outgrown. You owe them no explanations, no repeated confessions. Those who truly love you will see that your mistakes were not your identity, but your classroom. When you have forgiven yourself, you become untouchable. Their blame will find no home in you. Their bitterness will slide off like rain against stone. This is what Emerson called the serenity of the self-contained soul, the one who has learned that all strength must grow inward first. And in forgiving yourself, something miraculous happens. You begin to forgive others too. You stop demanding perfection from a world still learning to love itself. You recognize that everyone is carrying wounds invisible to the eye. From this recognition, compassion is born. And compassion is the truest form of freedom, the quiet power of selective hearing. When you master the art of ignoring, you do not become deaf, you become discerning. You learn to listen not with your ears, but with your soul. You begin to sense the difference between words that heal and words that harm, between voices that come from love and those that echo fear. There is no need to announce your boundaries. Your peace will speak for itself. People will sense it, the calm refusal to engage in trivial battles, the silent strength that cannot be provoked. They will test it, perhaps, but when they find that you do not yield your serenity so easily, they will retreat. Emerson wrote that nothing can bring you peace but yourself. Peace is not found in the silence of others. It is found in the stillness of your own being. Every moment you resist reacting, you are reclaiming yourself from the world's tug-of-war. Do not waste your energy defending your peace to those who never learned to keep theirs. Simply remain centered. The world will try to pull you in 1,000 directions. But when you stand firm in your own presence, all those directions dissolve. There is an invisible majesty to one who ignores wisely. Their silence commands more respect than argument ever could. The loud seek to prove themselves. The grounded simply are. They know that every reaction is a form of surrender, and they choose to surrender only to what nourishes their spirit. You will notice, as your self-discipline deepens, that the people who once drained you will begin to drift away. Do not chase them. Their departure is proof that your vibration has changed. Some will call you distant, others arrogant. Let them. You are not responsible for how others interpret your peace. You are responsible only for guarding it. A return to the inner sanctuary. There is, at the heart of all this, a return to the quiet inner sanctuary that Emerson called the Oversoul, the universal spirit that breathes through all things. To ignore the noise of others is to hear that voice again. It does not shout, it whispers. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by the world's applause, nor diminished by its criticism. When you begin to live from that inner voice, you stop taking offense so easily. You stop explaining yourself. You stop fighting for validation. You start moving with a calm rhythm that cannot be hurried or disturbed. The world might call it indifference, but it is not indifference. It is mastery. This is how the truly strong ignore, not from pride, but from presence. They have learned that to be reactive is to live as a puppet of circumstance, but to be still is to live as the master of self. They do not run from people. They simply no longer allow people to run them. Such mastery takes practice. At first, silence feels like absence. Detachment feels like loneliness. But over time, you realize that you are not losing connection. You are deepening it. You are beginning to connect with life itself, unfiltered by the noise of others. When you reach that place, you no longer crave applause, nor fear criticism. You no longer defend your choices or justify your dreams. You simply live, and your life becomes your argument. When the world grows loud, silence becomes the rarest luxury. Yet in that silence lies the source of all power. The man who learns to ignore wisely does not build walls. He builds altars. He withdraws not in pride, but in reverence, to hear again the inner law that speaks beneath the noise of human opinion. You see, most people do not truly live. They perform. They dance for applause, tremble under criticism, and shape their days to fit the fragile molds others have built for them. Emerson warned that such living is a slow death. Trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. To trust oneself is to ignore what dims your own vibration. It is to stop explaining your melody to ears that cannot hear it. The wise do not waste their song on deaf listeners. They sing for the wind, for the mountains, for their own joy. And that joy is their compass. When you walk this way, the noise falls away like fog under the morning sun. The discipline of selective presence, to ignore well, is not to escape the world, but to move through it untouched. It is a discipline, like the calm of the sea beneath the surface storms. Each day will offer provocations, small temptations to react, argue, prove. But reaction is weakness disguised as passion. Strength is to see the storm and still choose stillness. Ask yourself before you respond, is this worth my peace? Most often the answer is no. Not every opinion needs an answer. Not every invitation deserves acceptance, and not every argument requires attendance. This restraint is not indifference, it is self-command. Emerson believed that nothing external can have any power over you unless you consent. The man who ignores what does not matter is not running from life. He is mastering it. His calm is his crown, and no insult can remove it. There is immense dignity in such restraint. The world may mistake your silence for weakness, but you will know it as power. The loud man reacts to every spark. The wise one carries the flame without letting it burn him. Every time you choose silence over reaction, reflection over retaliation, you affirm your sovereignty. You remind the world and yourself that your mind is not a public square, but a sacred temple. Only truth may enter there. The quiet rebellion. To ignore what diminishes you is an act of quiet rebellion. It is saying, I will not trade my serenity for your storm. Emerson's life was filled with such rebellion. He turned away from convention, from the noisy expectations of church and state, from the chatter of imitation, and chose the wilderness of his own thought. He knew that every age demands conformity, and every soul must choose whether to obey or awaken. Whoso would be a man, he said, must be a nonconformist. The act of ignoring is, therefore, not passive, it is revolutionary. You revolt each time you refuse to respond in anger. You rebel when you choose calm over chaos. You defy the world each time you decline to explain your joy, your path, your peace. This rebellion builds not through noise, but through stillness. For silence is not the absence of voice. It is the presence of mastery. You will find that the more you practice this quiet power, the more life aligns in your favor. The manipulative will drift away, for they cannot breathe where guilt no longer rules. The naysayers will grow silent, for their echoes cannot reach the one who listens inward. Even the ghosts of your own past will fade, for forgiveness is the final act of ignoring the demand to stay broken. And in this growing stillness, you will sense something extraordinary, the gentle pulse of freedom. Not the freedom of isolation, but the freedom of inner harmony. The kind of peace that cannot be shaken, no matter who leaves, who stays, or who speaks against you. Becoming the unmoved. When you master the art of ignoring, you become like the mountain unmoved by wind. People will come to you with their storms, but you will no longer bend beneath them. You will listen, perhaps, but you will not absorb. You will care, but you will not carry. Emerson wrote that the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Ignoring is part of that decision. You cannot become yourself while answering to everyone else. Every no you speak to the world is a yes to your own becoming. There will be loneliness at first. The silence will feel vast and cold, but do not fear it. That emptiness is not absence, it is space. Space for new thoughts, new peace, new light to enter. In time, the loneliness becomes serenity, and the silence becomes song. Then something beautiful happens. Your presence begins to change. You walk differently, breathe differently, speak less, but mean more. People will notice. Some will be drawn to your calm. Others will be disturbed by it. But that is not your concern. You no longer live to be understood. You live to understand, and when you reach that state, even conflict cannot touch you. The insults of others become like raindrops on armor. You hear them, you feel them, but they do not penetrate. You respond with kindness, not because you must, but because it costs you nothing. The one who is unmoved cannot be offended. This is the essence of Emerson's self-reliance, the independence not only of body, but of spirit. It is the highest form of discipline. The ability to stay yourself in a world determined to make you anyone else. The full circle, so let us come full circle. To ignore is not to abandon. It is to prioritize the eternal over the temporary. It is to withdraw from noise so that you may hear the rhythm of your own heart again. Ignore the drama that seeks to entangle you, for your energy is sacred. Ignore the unpleasable, for your worth is not their mirror. Ignore the naysayer, for their disbelief is not your destiny. Ignore the manipulator, for their control ends where your awareness begins. Ignore those who wish to shape you into their idea of comfort, and ignore those who refuse to let your past rest. Do this not from disdain, but from devotion, devotion to your own peace, your own purpose, your own divine center. The world may call this detachment. Emerson called it wisdom. For the soul that stands firm in its own light no longer seeks validation, nor fears rejection. It simply is. And when you reach that state, you will realize you no longer need to ignore people. They simply no longer disturb you. Their chaos no longer finds a home within you. You will not have to push them away. They will pass through your life like wind through open doors. In that calm, you become vast, infinite, present. You begin to see every person, yes, even the ones who once hurt you, as teachers in disguise, each showing you where your peace still depends on others. And when that lesson is learned, no one can disturb you again. The art of ignoring is the art of returning to yourself. The world loses its grip, and you finally stand, as Emerson dreamed, whole, self-sustained, and alone with the stars.